Today, I would like to walk a little bit through some of the work that I've done before I joined Splunk. I was 6 years in a United States Patent and Trademark Office. I was the CTO, and I was also leading all the software development teams. So we know that AI is here. It's been here for a while now. We've seen the evolution from chatbots to that were hallucinating and going through AI assistants that were really powerful. And now we see the industry racing to create agents, which are semi-autonomous to fully autonomous operations. So the question I would like to explore today is, how do we prepare our workforce and our organizations for this future? When I joined the PTO, I've been already many years in product delivery, and I knew that our people, our teams are the biggest, the most important assets we have in our organization. They're the thing that actually drives success. And having a generative organization is very important when we adopt new technologies. So when I joined, I saw that we had such a load of policies created to protect the employees, but also they were to protect our releases, for example, but they were slowing us down. We had 27 artifacts that we had to complete for every release, which, as you can imagine, was creating release cycles of half a year. And we had to accelerate that. So the first thing we did is we removed a lot of that, and we replaced it with a single DevSecOps policy, which allows us to operate in a much faster rate. While we're doing this, the organization was going from a project to a product-centric operating model. We're giving the priority in the hands of our business rather than technology. And with this, we're optimizing the critical partnerships our delivery teams were having. Rather than relying on specialized teams and being on someone else's backlog, we were creating T-shaped cross-functional teams. And with this, we were creating a full cycle product ownership, which is a cornerstone of a generative culture. With this, we know that our teams now own their products, and they have a direct accountability of how they operate, not just how they're being developed. So we were able to create a concept of autonomy. Now, autonomy works well for a handful of teams, but when you scale it to 100 and more teams, it's really chaos in waiting. So I knew that we had to create autonomy, but also create technical alignment. So the technical alignment started by introducing a target state architecture, basically a vision and a set of tools and approaches of how we solve certain problems. As long as it can solve about 90% of the challenges that we had, we knew that we're in the right path. The vehicle that we used to deliver that target state architecture was templates, called archetypes, that we've implemented, and every team was saving 3 to 4 weeks of development effort. Like that, we actually started increasing a lot of our velocity. And among other technical approaches, like, for example, reference pipelines, we also had dojos. Those were meetings that we had with our teams to get them ready for the new technologies, for the new processes that we wanted to introduce. And ultimately, we wanted to propagate this, because adoption is key here, right? So the way we did that, we had all-hands meetings where we included our staff, but our vendors as well. And they were short, but they were very to the point, to the topic of how we want to move to the cloud, for example, how we want to adopt artificial intelligence. So far, this creates autonomy and alignment. And I'm still not talking about AI yet, right? We created a culture within those 5 years of innovation and ownership. And that allowed us, when AI came, to start adopting it in a very rapid pace. Now, when I speak with customers today and we see how agencies are advancing, we see that we need a really strong foundation on which to actually build those teams. And that foundation is based on 3 specific pillars. We need a scalable and secure infrastructure where we want to run our systems and our teams to utilize. We need to ensure the AI safety and security, and we need to curate the right data to make the proper decisions. So if we go through each one of them, chatbots and AI assistants normally create infrastructure spikes, but when we have agents which run continuously, recently, even OpenAI, I think they launched a coding agent, Codex, which can run up to 7 hours So if you remember, deep research is 20 minutes, we have 7 hours. We're going to have C agents that run for days, for weeks, for months. Maybe some are going to run continuously. This will create a demand on the infrastructure that is unprecedented. In addition, we have to make sure our infrastructure where we run those agents is also very secure. Traditional cybersecurity measures, zero trust, but also think about quantum-resistant encryption. That is something that a lot of organizations are aware. Very few organizations are creating an inventory of those keys, and it's an active data leak. Eventually, that data is going to be decrypted. Question is when. And ultimately, looking at automated compliance and monitoring, we heard a lot about automation here. The second point is the safety and the security. When we remember that large language models are a collection of all the knowledge created by humanity, by humans. And that knowledge has profanity, has harassment, has toxicity, could be off-top, has all those things. The question is, how do we protect? How do we create the guardrails that allow the safe use of AI? And how do we monitor that? How do we trace all the interactions that systems and people in operations have with those models? And on the other side, we have the security, which is a new take of traditional security challenges that we have. Prompt injection, very like SQL injection for those that are familiar with this. We have a lot of vectors now that we have to ensure that are addressed. And ultimately, everything is about data, right? So curating the right data allows us to make the right decision. It's the primary enabler of AI. So with this, we have our large language models, which are basically a conglomeration of all text, audio, and video that currently exists. We have organizational data, which is accessible through retrieval augmented generation and other methods, but we also have to bring in machine data, which is our telemetry. How do we actually bring the entire operation of our agencies and our organizations to make the proper decisions, whether that's automatically or whether that's with a human in the loop? So ultimately, what I would like to claim is that we built a layer of AI resilience on those pillars. And that layer allows our empowered and aligned workforce to operate securely, to communicate securely, and to thrive. With this, we can deploy agentic solutions with human in the loop. That allows our employees, our teams, to initiate agentic workloads, to interact with them. And I think the most important thing is also to create feedback loops between our teams and our agentic solutions. Very much like DevOps began, it turned into DevSecOps, and now it's AI DevSecOps. The idea is always to have feedback loops that continuously improve both our teams' capabilities and the software that they actually use. With that, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be here, and happy birthday, Gaudi.